You want me to say something?
Oh. Saging.
Mm-hmm. And eating.
We got shot some wicked I'm gonna kill you vibes today. Do you want to
I'm okay.
have a go?
I can smell it and I can feel it from here. Hola familia, Francisco and
Amiya.
Cervantes at Cervantes Dog Training and Rehabilitation.
Welcome to Dog Talk.
Yeah. So sorry, we're like struggling with time. We kind of like try to put things together really fast.
So we're eating and
So
we're
eating,
saging and we're
we're
talking
doing
about
things.
our most recent
Experience.
yeah.
And we decided to do this because we're reflecting on how it works with the energy and the energy that is involved with working with a dog. And we'll probably talk a lot about this, but this is a good, you know, like a good way to talk about like a different experience with a different dog. And part of it is that I do want to talk about this because in a way of like, she was there and then she helped record, but she got to see the whole thing, and more than anything, I want her to talk about the way she was feeling, the way she was, she can express herself, how she was going on, and what kind of energy she got involved and everything, and then that way you can hear from her point of view of like how things go, and then how you can make a difference as well. And yeah, we're gonna eat while we talk.
We get there, right? Okay. This dog was just off of quarantine, maybe a day off of quarantine, because we got in immediately as soon as this dog could be seen. Because it had bitten a neighbor, and badly, and the police were called, and this is kind of the dog's last shot to get it together, or else it'll be euthanized. And we started out with like just straight off like, hey, nice to meet you, with like being greeted dog first with this dog, like welcome, and the first inhabitant is this dog coming out the door. And you know, I tend to hold my breath like this, usually by accident, and so then I find myself like going, because I didn't realize I was holding it. I thought I was gonna die. I saw this dog and I was like, this is it. And this is after, I mean, luckily, on my way there, I had lots of layers that I put on purpose as like a buffer. Anything that can make myself feel better, right? I zipped my jacket all the way up to here, so my neck wasn't exposed. Had a hat on. Made sure I had gloves on. I held my backpack with one strap so I could very easily let that backpack slide down as a block. I mean, I was seriously prepped, right? But in that moment, when he came flying out that door, I was like, this is it. This is it.
But this is goes along with like how we see the world, or how we want to. We are dog lovers for sure, but our job here is to teach people how to be dog handlers first. And
I don't want Kiwi to poop on my bench. You don't.
well, you don't
care.
want. I can clean it.
You'll clean it.
Yeah. So that's Kiwi. It's over there. It's her bird.
You hear her all the time. But
Yeah.
she's
She
in the video
she
today.
helps. She likes to be talking
She's
as
in
well.
love with him.
And so I think that the dog handler part is that, or really when you have a dog like that and you that is giving you a hard time and you don't know what you're doing, then that's when you realize that you have to change your ways. Meaning that that's when you understand why structure, rules, boundaries works for these dogs. And it's great. So this dog has, the way I can describe it to you is territorial and full of excitement. Now, when you have a territorial dog and the excitement goes up high, then they're gonna use their instincts. Now, what we were seeing with this experience is that the human involved was nervous and was anxious. Therefore, the dog looked back at the human and says, "Well, you need my help, right?" So, between all of that combination, and not to mention that the dog is also nervous and anxious himself. So this dog kind of reacted accordingly to the situation, and the situation said, "Well, one, you're already in front, and you're territorial. Two, your energy is high, and three, your human is not giving you proper directions. So therefore, the dog is going to react accordingly." And then he did. So he was intense, and he was doing his job. He was being a dog and using his animal instincts. So that's when we really got to work. But I mean, you do really have to understand that the flow of the energy and what it takes, and also it's not easy a lot of the time. So you do have to, if you're sensitive to energy, you really have to understand that you're not only working with dogs, but you're also working with a human, right? And so that is what she saw, that she saw the reaction of the dog, and she also saw the reaction of the human, and every step of the way. And so our job is just to prepare the human that, look, you're doing things wrong, and then if you want to change, you really have to change your ways, or else, right?
I think you were surprised too.
I was?
Yeah.
By what? That she opened the door.
Dog
and then,
first.
Yeah.
I think you were like, "Oh, hey, wasn't expecting to see you right away. Like here, right now." Right?
Yeah.
Because it's almost like if you have a dog that hurts people, I guess that's the moment of truth about how much control you actually have. Please don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the moment of truth. I'm about to open my door to strangers, and you would hope with a dog that you already know has such capability of causing harm,
Right.
that you would have more control than that.
Well, he was, because
But that's
he
why you
already,
were there. That's why you were there, and that's why you can do this work, and you love this work. But mostly it's because people don't have control, and they don't know how to get control. They don't know what that looks like. And then when they do know what control looks like, they often have, "I know what you're trying to do. Just trying to get over there." They often have conflicted feelings once they do see what control looks like.
Right, and so I think that when we do this talks, it's not with judgment, just so you know. We're only describing this scenario because we do want you to understand that the energy and the amount of, like, if you're not prepared, for this work, then it's exhausting a lot of the times. You know, we were just talking about like how like at the end, how this person looks so like tired, but it's meant to work because we have to prepare her first to what it would happen, and then to actually to get to the work and get the work done. But ouch, not there. So that involves feelings, that involve the human to change their ways, and so a lot of it as well is that, for instance, this relationship between the dog and the human. First of all, they have, or she has, but it's they because it's a family. They have this dog that is a hardworking dog. It's really clear. And so when you don't stimulate the brain, or when you don't give guidance, or when you don't give the proper, you don't have the proper interaction with this sort of dog, that's when the dog gets frustrated, and that's when the dog starts to do. The dog is not going to talk to you and say, hey, I'm having issues with this. And so the dog is going to react and is going to say, well, this is how can I can show you that there's something off in human to dog relationship. And that's exactly what happened here. So I think that we don't expect that we don't have structure. We just don't. In this particular case, structure was not there. And I think it's the lack of, unconsciously, I don't think she knew, right? And so by not knowing what to do with a dog like that, or even how it works with the structure, or how to give structure, and so then you get in this sort of situation. But I mean, it was clear to me that he did, for instance, he did get excited, and you could see as the excitement would go pick up and go to different levels, that his demeanor started to change, right? So a lot of the times when I talk about the excitement between 1 to 10, once the excitement goes, let's say after 5, then that's when the brain is not, you're having a hard time to controlling the dog because they're not here, or they're not there. So that's what was happening with this dog, that the excitement was here, and then it was starting to pick up, and then once he was reaching certain level of energy, then it was like he was gone. Did you notice that? His eyes changing, his demeanor.
He was just very intense.
Well, how do you describe it? Like, because you were saying, tell me what you were saying about like the energy and how you were feeling at that moment, and that kind of stuff.
I was saying that because I'm the one with the camera, right? And I'm holding the camera in my hands. And when the dog would bark, I didn't mean to, but the camera would go like this. And I kept saying to myself, you really can't shake the camera like that. You really need to stay still. So I was acknowledging that in myself, that his barks made me flinch to a point where I shook the camera. And I was really trying to be centered and try to not be affected. But it was literally how harsh his barks were that got me.
Well, even
like like you can feel in his bark, and it just goes straight to your soul. It just goes like, you just is like internalized like right away, and it just I could feel like hatred.
Dude,
not to say that he hated me, like I don't think he has clear understanding of what he's feeling, but the intention behind his bark was very aggressive, and it was like he wants to hurt me in a bark, and I could feel it, how much he wanted to hurt me in the bark. So it was like unavoidable, that reaction of,
and that's exactly how she was feeling every time her dog barked, as she's describing. It made her nervous. It made her nervous because she knows what the dog is capable of doing. She knows that he's not messing around, and so it was good for her to see that well, you would describe it, let's just put it this way. At some point we're at the door because we were working on claiming the door. Once we got a little bit of understanding of what to do, right? And then so at some point she was telling me that the interaction that the dog and the human had right there, it was getting to a point that the dog was not like feeling it. It was like, well, is this all we're gonna do? And then he wanted to be, it wasn't clear enough, in other words.
He wanted to just go around his owner.
Right.
Like she was saying, I don't like that. And he was like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just gonna do it.
Right.
Okay.
And so then at some point, I just decided to just to take over. So once I did, she was describing to me that I let you do that. It's safety,
okay.
The safety environment.
So here's the deal. None of this would be possible because even in that scenario, he was the one everybody was where everyone was finding stability. I love that you use that word a lot, stability, and I think that's a really good description of the energy that you have that affects the dog and affects people. And during that time, because the owner didn't know what to do, it's interesting, it's her dog and it's her house, but you became everybody's stability. And as long as I was behind you, and I was not cowering, I was standing on my own 2 feet with space. But anyway, as long as I was standing behind you, I felt safe. And that began at the door with the exercises that we were doing at the door, just kind of walking in and closing. Don't do me like that, Kiwi. I love you. I love you. Oh, hey. So then we were claiming the door, like just being inside the door, next to the door. And then that pushed for territorial claiming, got pushed to the other side of the mudroom at that door where the entrance of the dining room was. And so at that point, when he had claimed that much space and I was behind him, I felt like, okay, the mudroom is safe. So I'm safe in the mudroom. Next thing I know, he's got his chest out, he's got the leash, and he's doing his circles with the leash, and he's slapping the floor with the leash, and he's not there anymore. Like, not with me in the mudroom anymore. And in that moment, our work zone increased substantially, and I didn't know how far our boundaries had increased, and I was still kind of in the mudroom. Like, that was where I felt comfortable still, and I froze.
Well, you said you were froze, yes.
I froze there because that was like, that had been my safety, and the boundaries had increased so quickly, and I wasn't prepared for it, and so I just naturally froze, and I couldn't see you anymore, and I knew I needed to be recording because I knew I was missing some good stuff.
That was the whole point, right?
I know.
To have you there.
I know. Well, I mean, that's...
I'm joking.
So then I'm like, all right, I gotta step out over, like, through this doorway and see what's happening on the other side by myself. And I couldn't help it. I looked at the owner and I was like, and stepped over the line, because I feel like we both kind of looked at each other, because like we were both, I felt like we had that same acknowledgement at the same time without even speaking, like, whoa. our safety zone has increased substantially all of a sudden. And
She didn't
what
have
does that
control.
mean?
She didn't
What does that
know
mean?
what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly will probably sage again, and I need to take some nice breaths and I should go with you more often, because it was definitely a very good experience, and it was me being able to see you really work, like see you in scenarios where you thrive. But I just, it's that energy that dog gives off that hits me right at my core, and it's and then that makes me feel like prey. You know, it automatically like flips a switch, like get out of here, get out of here.
Yes.
You're this is like
That
you're
is
walking
exactly,
into the danger zone. Get out, and like
that's
I have to
exactly
fight.
How it was.
I have to fight that the whole time, really.
Nice. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. His intensity. You were a prey. We were a prey. We were the target.
Right.
And that's why when you were describing the bark,
yeah,
he had intentions.
Yeah.
And it's all because it's again, it gets to a point when you don't have the structure, those rules and boundaries, then they're not there anymore. They kind of like gets to a point that they're not there, and then they're all animal. So this is really what was happening with this dog. So once it got to a point where it was like the relationship that they were having, the conversation that the dog and the human was having, it got to a point that it was like, we need to change things now. It's either now or you're not going to understand this. And so then that's when I decided to step in and kind of like see what how the dog react, and then if he would be back off. And
well, but at that time, it seemed to me that you knew he was going to back down. I felt like you used all of the exercises up until that point to get a feel for this dog. To me, the dog looked the same as it did from the moment I walked in the door. The dog still looked unpredictable and like with the potential of aggressive outbursts.
Yes.
But like it seemed like you at that point, when you stepped forward because you knew that dog was going to back off.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that I didn't know that, and I would like to learn.
I knew right away from the very beginning when we stepped inside in the motorhome.
Really? Yeah, but you also knew that dog could just whoop around the owner and get you anyway, whether you knew it or not.
Well, right, but the point of this exercise is for her to understand and to get actually the feeling, because I don't know what people think that sometimes that I'm going to go and work and get it done. And a lot of the times that requires to happen if I do have a chance, but a lot of the times it's like, I'm going to make you work, right? And we did make it work. And every time the dog got alert and barking, she became tense. And for me, it's a requirement, I think. It's like you do have to feel it. You do have to go through the feelings, everything, the process, to understand what energy, how it feels, and how to take care of it. But that's exactly what happened. It's like, once it get to the point that I noticed that the human was not moving forward, that he got stuck, then I had to step in.
It's so overwhelming to read the energy of a dog and read the energy of a human.
You do have to.
It's exhausting.
You have to do it because they're having a conversation, and the dog is saying, well, you are supposed to be my handler, but you are freaking out. You're sending me those signals that you need help.
Right.
And
well,
there you
and
have a
freaking out.
territorial
Freaking
dog.
out is not like verbal. She's not telling us that she's having a hard time. It's all like you could see some like shaking in her knees, and it was all very quiet.
Like the
that was
tension,
work
fear.
for you to read that. That was work.
Yeah. So every time
it's even more work to read that and then not let it affect you, because that's the thing. I am so good at reading people. I'm so good, and I was getting the vibes from this dog too, but it made me very fearful.
Right. But then while you're thinking about that, you're not thinking properly.
No.
No. And that's what happens with her.
And it makes me really tired.
She, at some point, I was just like, let's just put the leash. Let's switch the leash from the harness to a different position. And she was having a hard time. The only reason she was having a hard time is because she wasn't thinking properly. Her brain was like going really fast. She was like, ah. And so she wasn't there. She was like doing it, but it's like you can feel that she was desperate, and then she, she ended up doing it. But it's like, once you have feelings involved, and once you're like, this is where you do need to learn how to control those, the environment, your feelings, because it's that relationship that you have with your dog, and. But don't you think that she did see the difference? That she was like, all right, so yes, I am. This is why my dog is seeing me as not a stable energy. Once I started to move forward.
Well, I think you had to show what the dog was capable of.
Right.
That the dog was, because you got the dog to a point where it was on the other side of the room, laying down, with its head resting on the floor,
without touching him.
Without ever touching him.
I never touched the dog, but all I did, I was just claiming.
And I don't think that she knew that her dog was capable of doing that, because she had every time seen it this other way.
And this dog would push her buttons. She was like pushing her constantly, and she would not relax because the dog was pushing. But
this is definitely a case where another trainer might have walked in there and said, you need to euthanize this dog. We hear about that.
Happened, yeah.
We hear about that a lot, where a dog bites someone and then they call a trainer, and then the trainer goes in and is like, no, just put this dog down, because it was definitely scary.
Yeah, but see, this is the when I try to teach people that you need to become a dog handler before a dog lover. And it's for that reason. The dog wanted directions. We gave him directions. And I worked with that dog. I took the leash, and the dog was like, you don't give him directions. And I'm like, you do. I do. I have to give you directions. I mean, next thing you know, the dog is just resting his head on my leg and just like being with me. And we had a mutual understanding that I had to explain to his human that it's like I often said, it's a mutual respect. You respect me, you don't come to my intimate space and you try to take advantage of me. And I do not come to your intimate space and I do the same thing. So it's an understanding that we have through energy that we don't cross each other's boundaries, and that is the first step. And after that, which we didn't have it on camera because that happened right before we were heading out, we packed everything, and the dog, I was just touching the dog all over the place, and the dog was fine. The dog finally, because the dog smelled me, met me, and he didn't do that with her because he was staying back to record.
And because I wanted to.
So at the end, he was just smelling her. But see, the difference, was nice. And we didn't record that too bad, but it was nice because her human saw the difference.
Yeah.
Do you see that? She was so nervous, but because she didn't understand that. And then that's what that's what she needs to understand, the concept of like, when a dog comes respectful to your environment or not. But the dog was just a dog. The dog was just like, all right, that BS was gone. That I'm just like a silly dog. And he was just smelling her, and he was fine, and it was moving in and out, and then the dog was fine. But I have to point that out to her, that is like, that's what we want. That's what we do, and we create structure. That's why we have rules and boundaries, because he's just straight out saying to her, I'm overstepping your boundaries. I'm telling people what to do because I can and because I want to, and other because you haven't said don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I think it was a nice experience for her because
I don't usually get to go.
no. Or at times you do go, but you
It's
kind of like
different
you're
kinds
in and
of
out.
cases,
Yes,
too.
you're in and out, so you don't get to stay the whole thing. And actually, whether you're recording or not, you don't get to see all of it. But today was nice because she got to hold the camera, and I didn't have to stress out about where I was going to put the camera. Or sometimes I don't even take pictures. So
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
yeah. So, but yeah, this we were just trying to. Again, this is not about judgment. We don't want to
Never.
judge anyone, but we do like to talk about how.
We'll just lay out the facts.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think any less about this person or any less about this
Exactly.
dog.
So-
I'm not blaming anybody
No,
for
no.
what happened, but
Absolutely
I
not.
am admitting about how it made me feel. I am acknowledging that there wasn't any control there, and I had to walk into a situation where I knew there wasn't any control, and I just had to sort of rely on you to
Right.
make me feel better with your actions and yeah.
And this is why I said to her, just let's talk about it and record it, because the way she was describing how she was feeling there is the same way that the owner was feeling. But every time I said, how do you feel? She would always say, I'm okay. I knew that was not the case. And so,
and said that.
Yeah. So
and said
so
that out
then-
loud, yeah.
So then it really does require for you to accept the way you feel and change it. But I'm glad that she saw what the dog is capable of doing, and like she saw the possibilities. And so my job is just there to see to assess the dog and to give you tools and to give you ways so you can gain control. And that's exactly what happened. I was there. The dog reacted just the way I wanted. And then I showed her at some point that you can change things around. And I think that was good for her. But whether you want to change, because what we're doing here is change your ways, change the way you communicate or your relationship with your dog. And that at times is really hard to do for people. So again, this is not about judgment. It's about just telling the story and how she was feeling, and then the vibe that we were getting to with all this. And this is not never about judgment. So this is just about a learning process, and it's nice for me to learn every time I go to places. But yes, do you have something else to add, or something that you can think about what you saw there or anything? Yeah, so we're gonna pause this video of this, and what she was doing, she's just posting some small short clips and a longer version at the on YouTube. So in case you want to see it, sometimes they're long, that's for sure, but they have a lot of information, and
Yeah,
it really does
the
depend
sessions
about
are 2
you.
hours long,
It really
and they're
depends
just
on you. if you wanna
jam-packed
walk.
with action.
Yeah.
So, but another opportunity to see you work live would be at your seminars.
Well, we try to
We're
work out.
working on one for the
Yeah,
end of
yeah.
April in Randolph, and we'll
Hopefully it
announce
does happen, and we'll.
that as soon as we have details solidified. So, all right, thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching. Bye.
Bye.